welcome back to another episode of the View from the Rock podcast. This is episode 7, or, I think our episode when we split it apart technically counted as 1, so I don't know, this might be 8. It's hard to keep track, so prolific at this point, but today we're going to be talking about women bands / artists, which you don't know if we give a very great definition of. Does it have to be all members of the band are women, or is it just the lead person? After that, we're going to talk about a beer of the week, which is exciting because it's a local one from Bastion Brewery. And finally, we're going to talk about the top 3 basketball movies. But of course, we can start off with a little bit of what's been happening in our lives. I know finally it seems like spring has sprung.
Yeah, we've had a little change in the weather here finally. We have spring sports, and for those of you familiar with spring sports up here in Washington, it's usually the worst season of the year.
Terrible.
But yesterday I don't know how hot it actually got yesterday, but there was a lot of sunburning in the swap house yesterday.
I mowed my lawn in a tank top, and I wouldn't call them booty shorts, but they were short shorts.
Ooh.
That's right up your style, Ruck. I love it.
Mr. Morgenthaler.
I definitely had some sun issues this week. Tuesday baseball game, and sitting facing west at the Burlington field, and just sun, and I knew it too, and didn't do my normal sunscreen, and I am peeling now.
We didn't have our best game, and it might have been because our team was distracted by the glare.
It could be that,
or off your dome,
or it could be just some mojo that was mixed up in the, seeing some people in the stands.
Yeah, a lot going on that day. But local sports, we've got the Kraken in Game 7 tonight.
Yeah, I honestly I may not watch, and it would be because I'm trying to do everyone a favor. I've found that I think I'm a curse to the Kraken team. First game, I watched kind of out of the corner of my eye. We won. Ever since then, I've come back to the game, and we've been up 2-0. And as soon as I start watching, we're up. And within minutes of me watching, we're down or we're tied. Like, it's been 2-2 or 3-2. I don't want to put that on anyone.
I don't believe in that. I just feel like we're going to win tonight. I'm going to pull out my sweater tonight, and I'm going to wear it.
I should be wearing my Kraken stuff.
First time, if we win tonight, when we win, tomorrow at school, I think I'm going to be wearing the sweater.
If we win tonight, I'm going to come sprinting through the back streets to your house, yelling.
Oh, okay. I love it.
No,
so 9:15.
Yeah, that's a lot of energy. Hopefully I'm asleep by then.
Or maybe I can meet you halfway on Rowan Scooter.
Oh, there we go.
What is game time?
6:30 p.m. tonight on TNT.
Ooh.
Who is a good TNT hockey announcer?
I couldn't tell you any hockey announcer other than from Hockey Night in Canada.
Is it
Don
Cherry?
Cherry?
Cherry, and he got fired
Why did he get fired?
because he
That's TSN,
speaks
right?
his mind.
Oh.
Oh, because Don Cherry always gave me
Oh,
like
dude.
a 1970s PE teacher vibe.
Oh, and his outfits. Yeah. So Ruck, a TNT hockey announcer?
I'm pretty sure this is on TNT. It's not like NHL TV. The Biz. Chris Bissonnette. Oh man, he is exactly what you would think a hockey player would be like stereotypically. He was obviously some goon defenseman. I kind of remember him a little bit from when I would watch hockey sometimes. But, if your name is just The Biz, you're a baddie.
Oh, yeah. Just like in WWE, The Miz. The Miz and The Biz.
I have no idea what
idea.
you're talking about.
You've
right
never,
now.
you don't know who The Miz is?
No, WWE.
Yeah, he was like a road rules guy. And then he turned in and became a wrestler. Now he has his own show, Mr. and Mrs. The Miz.
The last, I think, serious wrestling I watched, serious as far as like WWE kind of stuff, was when it was still WWF, and they had, I think, like the final match, and it was on, I think, an aircraft carrier, Did that happen?
I think so.
I think it was like Lex. What was
Lex
his-
Luger.
Yes, Lex Luger. Yeah.
You know, I met Hulk Hogan in Vegas.
Wow.
That sounds amazing.
Like prime Hulk Hogan or old Hulk Hogan?
Well, it was probably 2005.
before his nasty divorce.
Yes.
So probably late prime.
So his daughter was probably 15.
Yeah. And she was in the pool. We were at the Palms. And my buddy who I was with called me. It was about 10 in the morning and said, "Hey, I'm having a sub sandwich right now with Hulk Hogan. Why don't you come down to the pool?"
Wow.
That's awesome. Yeah, brother.
I mean, you're in Vegas at that point, so anything's possible, but I feel like I would be incredulous and think there was some joke being played on me.
No, see, Hulk had a cabana at the pool,
Sure.
stocked with subbies. And
How did your buddy get into his
Yeah.
cabana?
he was in the pool hanging out with the daughter's name, I believe, was Brooke. And he wasn't flirting. They
Yeah.
were just talking. And then Hulk came over and invited him over for a subby.
And then you went over to his cabana
Then I went down to the cabana
and we're sitting there with Hulk Hogan.
with Hulk Hogan.
Is he a large man?
He's enormous.
Really?
Yeah.
Is he 6'5"?
And he is full Hulk 24/7. Like he's got the bandana on.
His name is not Terry, it's Hulk Hogan.
He's Hulk Hogan 24/7.
And does he talk that way too? Like, oh yeah, brother.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Could you imagine living your life like that?
I
Yes.
think, that's kind of a normal day in Vegas though for a lot of people.
Fair. Oh my goodness. I had no idea we are going to go down this path. That's amazing. Yeah, so local sports, we got the Kraken. Mariners played, finally got a dub. Hasn't been a good start to the season.
Big win today. I think they're
Yeah.
12-16, but Mr. Morgenthaler, what do I always say about the Mariners?
Prepare to be disappointed.
Well,
Robbie Ray out for the year. I told Rowan, Dad, he's like, Dad, are we going to make the playoffs? I said, prepare to be disappointed.
That's been my motto for, well,
It doesn't go well.
I mean,
No.
there's a lot of season
When
left.
Robbie Ray is out,
A lot of season left, but if you take our 15-game win streak out from last year, between all of last season and now, I think we're 500. So it doesn't feel great when you consider that.
what do you guys think about the NFL draft? Seahawks.
I could talk for a little bit.
Go ahead.
go for it.
When I was a kid, and still am a big draft nerd. When I was 10 years old, I would make mock drafts. I would get my Excel spreadsheet out and I would type up who I thought was going to everyone in the first round. Sometimes I'd go all the way into the second. Like, I was really into it. Still am. I still remember this day when I'd be sitting in the downstairs of our house watching the NFL draft on Saturday, all the extra rounds, and on Sunday when that used to go into Sunday. And I would sit there the whole time and I'd watch every single pick.
So you are basically Mel Kiper, but you actually played football.
True. And my dad would come in and be like, hey, I could really use the lawn mowed today. I'd be like,
Tomorrow.
yeah, I don't really feel like it. But it was even more passive aggressive. It was like, do you feel like mowing the lawn? He was like, no, I don't. I'm watching this. I can do it later.
So what do you think about the draft?
Now that our team has had enough success to give our ownership, administration, coaches, general manager, all that, kind of gives them some clout and some wiggle room. I feel like every draft I go into with them, I have an idea of what we should be doing, and then we don't do that. And then I spend the next 24 hours coming to terms with what we did. And last year, it was less so that. Last year, just from the start, I was like, this was an amazing draft. This year, I loved our first round. Going into the draft, I wanted Jalen Carter, but I knew that he would be there. The D tackle from Georgia, who's supposed to be the best player in the draft, knew he'd be there. So if we chose not to take him, since they know way more information than I do, and they've interviewed him and met with him, they must have legitimate concerns to not take him. So they didn't take him, and I was like, oh, man, that sucks that he's obviously a big head case.
But
that's why we didn't.
Do you really think that they learned from the McDowell pick?
Malik McDowell.
I think
that's the one that got them, where he got in that ATV accident and never played.
I think that whole thing is a little bit overrated from the standpoint of that was the second round draft pick anyways.
But he was going to be a starter.
Could have been. But it wasn't like we drafted him and everybody was going, oh man, that was the best player in the draft. We drafted him in the second round when he fell to us, and it was like, oh man, this guy has a lot of potential, but he's kind of a head case, so we'll see. And then, yeah, he never played. So as far as like, this was our the fifth pick in the first round, like learning from that, I don't know. I mean, you could maybe say, hey, we need to trust our player evaluation and say, you know, if it seems like he has some issues going on, we should stay clear of that. Maybe that's what we learned from it. But
he was the 10th pick, correct?
Who?
Carter.
He ended up being the ninth pick.
Pick.
The Eagles traded up from the 10th to the 9th. And afterwards, it didn't come out before, but after the draft, the talk was that when coaches talk to the Georgia coaching staff, that, you know, normally as a head coach, like, you're trying to endorse your players. You want them to be drafted. You want success for them. They were not endorsing Jalen Carter. They're basically were like, good riddance. Like, we were tired of coaching him. We'd had enough.
So we got the best cornerback in the draft.
And he looks like a baller.
And you know what? He's all in. Like, football is number one. His life is football.
Did you see that clip of him against Indiana?
Yeah.
Like, that's not normally how a corner plays. Like, that's huge.
We're going to be good. Like, it's going to be our corners are locked.
Well, we have him and
Tariq.
And so we're going to have two lockdown corners.
Huge. And then, you know, Jackson Smith and Jigba, last year at the end of the season, he was a top 10 prospect. Going into the draft, like at the start of the season before he got injured, it was like he was better than Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, who were drafted in the first round last year from Ohio State, who were supposed to be really good. And they did well in the NFL last year, and everybody was like, this guy's better. Then he hurts his hamstring, doesn't play most of the season, and therefore he drops. Like, he easily could have been going to the draft if he was healthy, could have been like a top 10 pick. We got him 20.
So we have DK Metcalf, we've got Lockett, we've got the kid from Ohio State, we've got Kenneth Walker 3.
And we have another running back.
We get the guy from UCLA.
Zach Charbonnet. He's big.
And, you know, and I saw people saying, you know, we have a running back. Why take him? How many years have the Seahawks made it with their running back healthy all year? Ever?
Since Marshawn Lynch? Never.
No, so we need two.
You need,
Three.
You need 3.
Do we still have one of the others?
So we let Travis Homer go, and then Rashad Penny signed with the Eagles. So right now we've got DJ Dallas, we've got Zach Charbonnet from UCLA, the second rounder, and then we've got K9, Kenneth Walker. But then did you see the guy we drafted in the 7th round out of Georgia? His name's Kenny McIntosh. His YouTube clip of him getting called by John Schneider on the phone, our GM, and then his press conference with all the media, like, it's good.
Really?
It's entertaining. Like, he gets called on the phone and he immediately starts crying. And he's like, what have you guys been doing? I've been waiting around all day for this.
Oh, man.
And then he just is sobbing throughout the whole phone call. And then the media gets on the call with him. And he's just, at one point they mentioned something about his brother. He's like, oh, you want to talk to my brother? I'll get him right now. And he just starts screaming, Dion, get in here, Dion. And then at one point they go, what kind of style of running back are you? And he goes, I can run between the tackles. I can run zone outside. I can catch the ball. I can pass block. He goes, I can be whatever you want me to be. OC, offensive coordinator, you tell me what you want me to be. I'll be it. I was just like, wow. That's the
awesome.
perfect
That's
answer.
the way it, yeah.
That's the
the
right
way it
answer.
should be.
Like, I love him.
I watched a little bit of the first round. And the whole Will Levis thing was just amazing to me. Like,
It's brutal.
how Vegas, something happened on Reddit where someone put out like he's going to be the number one pick, and Vegas totally changed their the odds, and it went to 4-1 that he would be the number one pick.
You're kidding me.
How is that possible that he does not get picked in the first round?
I'm not sure what you're referring to, because I saw that within hours of the draft, the NFL betting lines, Vegas lines, changed to where it was 98% Bryce Young first pick, 98% CJ Stroud second pick, 64% Will Anderson third pick, and then Anthony Richardson, it was like 70-something%.
Well, it was earlier in the day or the day before, because the lines changed where 4-1
Yeah.
were
I mean,
and so he's sitting there. So the people that are telling him you're going to go in the top 5 and you don't even get drafted in the first round.
I mean,
How is that possible in today's age?
I have no idea, but it was very awkward.
So I just saw a clip from him today, and I don't know if it was at his pro day, but he was talking to the media there, and he goes, I think they asked him if he would go to the NFL draft. And he's like, well, if I get invited and I think I'm going to be a top pick, then I'll go. But I don't want to go if I'm just going to sit in the green room and slide into the second round and have that camera on me all day. Then I don't want to go.
Oh, wow.
And that's what happened. And then, gets picked high in the second round, but he didn't stick
Second
around.
pick.
Yeah, right. Well, everyone coming in didn't speak about it very loudly, but it was really clear there was 3 teams that had to get a quarterback. And those 3 teams got one in the first 4 picks. And so if there wasn't one of those other teams after that who would be drafting a quarterback as just sort of an extra who maybe wasn't going to play this year, if one of those teams wasn't going to draft him, then he was going to slide. And, I saw that some different places, and a lot of places said he's probably the 4th quarterback. So, it was still surprising, but also you could kind of see it was coming a little bit. Out of the second round, no. You'd kind of think someone would trade up into the end of the first and take him, but
It's funny. Like, where's his dad? There's a lot of women in his group.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah, I agree. There were a lot of women in his group.
The biggest thing that I heard maybe that caused him to slide, some people were saying, and it was just speculation, but leading up to the last few weeks of the draft, he was expected to go really high. And within the last few weeks, his stock started to really drop. And people said that when he did his interviews, he seemed like he was nervous and cocky. And when he did his pro day, he was wearing like a muscle shirt, and he would, on his Instagram, he'd post these selfies of himself, and people started to get this weird vibe that he's sort of a prima donna that's more worried about how he looks, and really loves how strong his arm is rather than
Putting in the time.
Leader. Yeah. Not a great thing for a quarterback.
Well, we got another year of Geno Smith.
I love it.
I like it. I think we're going to be. Well, we have one of the toughest schedules in the league. I don't know if you saw, like, who we play.
As far as like against the division, because they haven't released the schedule yet. I don't think. I think that comes out like mid-May.
I think in terms of who we play, like not exact, but we play the AFC, like
we know
NFC,
right, exactly. We
North
know all the
or-
teams, just not what weeks it'll
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
Yeah. That'll be tough. But you know what? The good thing is it's pretty much just up to you beating the people in your division. So we'll play them 8 games or 6 games, whatever it is, and then we'll play those same teams as the other ones. So it's a nice format they have in the NFL.
When I think about how much we dislike Seahome, I almost think about that with the Niners.
Cannot stand the Niners.
Awful.
And I think I brought this up on a previous podcast, but it's amazing to me how many 49er fans there are out there.
And It's Cowboys and Niners.
But I don't hate Cowboys and Cowboy fans like the Niners. The Niners are like, they're kind of like Notre Dame or maybe the Yankees. where there's just people that just declare themselves Niner fans for no apparent reason.
What drives me nuts about all those fan bases is even when their team isn't really good, like I would say the Cowboys, didn't really do anything last year. I wouldn't say they're bad. They obviously have some talent and they could be good this year. But if you're a Cowboys fan, you think that this is the year. And you think that every year. And you have this irrational exuberance about your team. And all of those fan bases do. And they also have these sky-high expectations that never get met. They always think that they should be going all out every single year when, I don't know, I feel like maybe if you've been a part of a team that, like the Seahawks, have had some bad years, you kind of appreciate like, oh man, we didn't go all the way last year. We were 9-7. It was a good season. Like, you appreciate that they're putting out at least a good product.
So what are the Niners going to do at quarterback?
Do you know when Brock Purdy's coming back from his elbow?
I think he's the number one.
I mean, if his elbow's healthy,
isn't that amazing that he was Mr. Irrelevant?
It's wild.
So, like, yesterday, I'm sitting in the house, and she goes, well, what does Mr. Irrelevant mean? I'm like, well, he is the last pick in the draft. Well, why do they call him that? Because normally he never makes a team. It's a guy you've never heard of. And then all of a sudden, Mr. Irrelevant is now starting and winning. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and he was good.
I mean, it's almost like a curse. It has seemed that way in the past because obviously it doesn't mean that you can't be good because we know that there are people that have been undrafted for a long time now who've ended up becoming really good players. But that last pick is such a weird time because those teams can choose. Like, it's interesting.
There's probably 50 guys.
Well, in those last couple of rounds, they're actually making calls to guys who they're not planning on drafting, but they're saying, hey, we want you to be an undrafted free agent for us. And so I don't know how that affects the guys they decide to draft and not draft, but I think sometimes some guys in that 7th round fall out because the team would rather sign them as an undrafted free agent than draft them.
It'd be interesting to see how many, like the last 20 years, how many guys have made it 3 years in the NFL drafted in the 6th and 7th round.
Yeah, I mean, that specific pick, the irrelevant one, I don't think it's very good. Was there anything else we were planning on talking about here in our little warm up, or are we ready to dive into?
Do we have a little fact checking from the last podcast? Kylie Minogue,
what
celebrity
who she was dating.
Who she was dating.
Did you guys look it up? Because I'm gonna guess off the top of my head that it was. He was a musician, I thought also.
Correct.
And he played some awesome guitar. Wasn't it Lenny Kravitz? No?
She was linked with Lenny Kravitz.
Oh, let's
no
go.
way.
She was in a relationship with the late Michael Hutchence.
Oh, yeah. Really?
Yep. Also Australian. I saw Lenny Kravitz in concert. And
Really?
He was really good, but he quit after 2 or 3 songs because he had a sore throat.
Wow.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed.
He was awesome there for a minute in the, late 90s, early 2000s?
Yeah, that would have been 1992 that I saw him. He was opening for the Cult.
So Kylie is 54.
Well, speaking of women musicians, first topic is women bands / artists. And I don't know if we decided who wanted to talk about it first. Swapper, do you want to talk about that?
Well, we in thinking about what to have for a musical genre, and here in episode 7, we've talked about hair bands, we've talked about Australian bands, Canadian bands. We really haven't talked about some of the fantastic women of rock.
Is it all genres or women of rock?
Well, I believe that we have talked all genres,
Yeah.
but I just said women of rock.
I think about women bands, and I think about women that rock.
Oh, wow.
Well, does anybody rock more than Joan Jett
Man,
and
I
the
don't know.
Blackhearts?
Yeah. I think of Heart.
Ann and Nancy Wilson.
Yeah.
Remember we talked about them in a previous podcast when I saw them all acoustical at the Seattle Opera House under the name The Lovemongers.
If you look, you remember the VH1 behind the story or
Behind the music.
yeah, and talked about. So one of them went to Pacific.
In Oregon?
Yeah, 19. Did you see that?
If you are not here in
That
the
did
recording studio, we just witnessed some witchcraft. Mr.
yes.
Morgenthaler's Seahawk cup just spontaneously started sliding itself across the table.
You know, that'll happen on those glass tables like that.
Oh
You
my
get the
goodness!
condensation
No, that was
cooling.
weird.
That was super weird.
I think someone is here.
I think the Yellow Dog studio was haunted.
But anyway, one of the Wilson sisters went to Pacific. We actually tried to get them to come play in the 90s.
So one of them went to Pacific in
Yes.
Forest Grove.
Yeah, and talked about it on Behind the Music.
And then one of them is married to Cameron Crowe.
Yes. So that would be Nancy,
Okay.
and she's the guitar player. But they freaking crush it.
Yeah.
Crazy on You,
Barracuda.
Barracuda.
They rock.
I remember
Yeah.
listening to some Heart when I was a kid. I would say it might have even been on some of my, workout playlists. Definitely was on a lot of my playlists I had when I was a kid.
And then when you think about like our last podcast, we talked about MTV videos.
Yes.
Madonna and the Bangles
The Bangles
had some great videos on MTV.
Susanna Hoffs, who I also saw in concert.
Oh, that's amazing. What year was that?
That would have been 1991 at the Gorge.
And it was just her, or was it the Bangles?
She opened for Don Henley.
Don Henley.
Yeah.
So, do you consider, I'm looking at our notes, Fleetwood Mac or is it just Stevie Nicks?
I think you can put Stevie Nicks on any list, and she belongs there.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Well, so, that's the question for this list. Is it bands that have only females or leading females, or is it something else?
I think so Hart had men in the band, but Stevie Nicks and Fleetwood Mac, she was a lead singer for that band half the time.
It's like you got No Doubt.
No Doubt, Gwen
It was-
Stefani.
Yeah, it was just one female though, I believe. The rest were men. But to me, like Gwen Stefani was what made that band.
So my first year teaching ever in Oregon, I was teaching math, and my student, her aunt, or the student's uncle was in the band, No Doubt.
Wow.
So she's like, I'm leaving for a week. I go, where are you going? She's like, well, I'm going to see my uncle play. He's in a band called No Doubt. I'm like, what?
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, on that same note, what about if you go a generation earlier and you go Jefferson Airplane, Grace Slick?
No, that's the
So does
that white room with black curtains.
that's Cream.
White Rabbit.
White Rabbit. Yeah, there you go.
The White Room with black curtain. Isn't that Cream and Eric Clapton?
Yeah, it's
In a
Eric-
white room.
Eric
Yeah,
Clapton,
yeah,
Ginger
yeah.
Baker, and
I knew
Jack
there was
Bruce.
a color there. White Rabbit.
Is she the one that sings the song that's in a movie with Cable Guy? Don't you want some?
That would be Jefferson Airplane.
Okay.
Yes. So that's one of their big songs.
And her
along
name
with
is what?
Grace Slick.
Her voice is very distinct.
And then they later became Jefferson Starship.
Yes, they did.
So why? How is that? You go from airplane to Starship.
I think because modern times.
Someone that we hadn't discussed before, actually a couple. First of all, ABBA. Female.
ABBA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, not something I'd necessarily listen to, but famous-wise, sure. Sonny and Cher.
Oh, Cher.
Yeah.
You can't deny her talent.
Lady Gaga.
Oh, don't even get me started.
I love me some Gaga.
Swap and Sign Dog cried.
I had tears.
went in
I,
Vegas,
I
that's
saw
right.
Gaga on my 50th birthday in Vegas, and she, if you can find anybody more talented than her, I want to see it because she is absolutely amazing.
Well, that song with her and Bradley Cooper.
Oh,
I like that song, and I will cry when I hear that song.
she is amazing. I was with Sign Dog, our only guest here on the podcast at Lady Gaga in Vegas. And we both had tears rolling down our face. First row of the balcony. It was unbelievable.
Have you guys ever heard of the Alabama Shakes?
Is that what happens when you wake up with a really bad hangover in Birmingham?
I think you could call it that.
The Alabama Shakes, baby.
But they're definitely one of my favorite
Really?
recent sort of rock alternative bands. They're like highly talented. They've got a female lead singer, Brittany Howard. Super good. You would definitely recognize some of their songs. But the one we haven't said that I've actually seen in person is the Cranberries.
Ooh, Dolores O'Riordan.
How do you know these names? God, it's amazing. I saw the Cranberries at the Gorge.
Oh my gosh.
I saw them at the White River. They're opening for Weezer.
1994 is part of Lollapalooza.
You're kidding.
Good.
Yeah.
Very good.
What'd you think of them in person?
I saw them, it was 5 years ago with Bob Vokes, friend of the pod, and I think Dick Fryer. And yeah, they were super good despite it being only 5 years ago, and therefore, they're a little bit older performing, but I couldn't tell. They freaking rocked. I didn't know a lot of their music other than like Zombie, but I liked it all. When you go to see a band where you don't know their oeuvre of music, it can be a little challenging to get into it, but I was in. Like, you can just tell they're talented.
Hey, I'm going to throw another female front person at you, Janis Joplin.
Ooh,
Oh, yeah.
she was big. During my dad's time, definitely.
Big Brother and the Holding Company.
That's like late 60s, 70s. When did she pass? Around when Hendrix did,
And Jim Morrison right around that same time.
and they were young, like 32, 31.
29 maybe?
God, what are you doing to... That's...
Yeah,
Right?
younger than me.
No, Swap and I are looking at each other like, wow,
How does that happen?
29?
Yeah.
Hey, I got one for you.
Okay.
So I'm looking, there's a tribute band for AC/DC.
Oh, it's all female, isn't it?
Yes, called
Yeah.
Hell's Bells.
Yeah, I think
And
they've come here before.
oh yeah,
haven't they?
they're one of the places that I wanted to go watch. They kick ass. Can I say ass?
Yes.
I think you just did.
Twice. So according to Google, they're the 5th ranked best AC/DC tribute band of all time.
Wow.
And they're good. You pull up a video on them and they're shredding.
The worst part about choosing this as a genre is it's so broad that there's going to be people we missed and people are going to complain about it. And there's one we haven't mentioned. And man, if we did not mention this person, we would get destroyed.
I know. I think I know. Go ahead.
Well, I'll say first the band that she was in, Destiny's Child group, whatever you want to call it, which would be, do you know who that is?
Beyonce?
Yeah, Beyonce. There's a lot of people who love Beyonce. I like some of her music a lot, but it's definitely not something I just go to immediately. But the one that I definitely go to immediately and is one of my favorite just artists in general, which I don't have tickets to this summer, T-Swift.
Oh, Taylor Swift.
Oh,
yeah. Oh,
I
geez.
love Taylor
Yo,
Swift.
Taylor Swift
I'm a
right
Swiftie.
now.
I love
when you
Taylor.
play Taylor Swift in PE, 99% of the girls are singing during warm-ups.
While they're running.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they want to play Taylor Swift all the time. And
Yeah.
we're in a small town. Think about the world.
So
like Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, all of those people were the first part,
yeah.
right, of Swift. Or Katy Perry. I'm a big Katy Perry fan.
Yeah, I like Katy Perry.
Love Taylor Swift.
You know, I have a little bit of a crush on Taylor Swift for sure. I mean, she's like my age. She's 35.
Yeah. I can see that.
That she's my age, that I'd have a crush on her.
Both. But didn't you know, when she was younger and it was just her and the guitar, it
She
was
did
just
country?
magical.
Was that more country?
Yeah, it was more country.
So what about Shania Twain?
Canadian.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I can name a song.
Hey, while you're thinking about that, I just pulled up Hell's Bells. They're going to be in Everett June 3rd.
Oh, yes. I had them on the calendar. They were at the Skagit a year ago.
man.
I want to go.
Saturday, June 3rd at the historic Everett Theater.
Dude, they rock.
They do. So June 3rd.
So let's put that on the calendar.
Yep.
Did Shania Twain do I Feel Like a Woman?
Yes.
There you go.
So we got to say something for our,
Listening audience?
Holly Besmer.
What?
One of her favorite
No.
people that she loves.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Swap.
You guys don't even remember her name.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember?
Isn't it Melinda?
Belinda.
Belinda Carlisle.
Oh my gosh, no, it's Brandy Carlisle.
Belinda Carlisle was in the Go-Go's.
And
Yes.
Go-Go's is on the list.
Yes. Brandy
Brandy
Carlisle.
Carlisle is on fire right now, and
And you guys listen to her all the time.
Never have listened to her. I'm sure she's a talented young lady.
she played Black Hole Sun at the Gorge with Soundgarden,
Oh, man.
and Mrs. Holgertz was there.
So she is pretty big. She won like the music video.
She's
of the
on
year,
fire right now. Yeah.
Or was it just artist of the year? Album. She won something.
She
this
won
year.
like 3 or 4 Grammys this year.
Yeah, she's big time. It's not. I wouldn't say it's even her style. For some reason, I just haven't caught on to her music yet. Maybe I will at some point. I wasn't into Taylor Swift until like she came out with her Folklore album, and at that point, I think that was more my style. And there's some random music of hers before that I liked, but
I'm going to go super obscure right here, maybe just to kind of close the loop on this.
perfect.
Back when I was early 20s, local band, all female, Swamp Mama Johnson. They rocked. They had a guitar. They had a saxophone.
In the Valley?
Yes, they were a local band. They would play at the Watertown.
Is there any recordings of them?
Maybe on YouTube you could find something.
Swamp Valley?
Swamp Mama Johnson.
It's a great name, and I love any band that has.
They had a
saxophone.
great song by the name of Gasoline.
Whoa.
And I probably saw them at local establishments 10 times. They were amazing.
Did you find anything, Jay?
Yes. Gasoline. The album was Wetlands, 1995. Voodoo Angel.
So at our
Pucker Up Buttercup.
at our next break, I think you should play Gasoline.
Okay, so speaking of breaks, are we taking a break before Beer of the Week and top 3 basketball movies of all time?
I think we should.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Welcome back to the View from the Rock podcast. your host, Ruck, and we are going to get into our beer of the week. This week it is Sky Pig IPA from Bastion Brewery out by the, is it now called the Swinomish Links Golf Course?
It's always going to be Smilk
Smoke Beach
to me.
for us.
Okay.
Yeah, for us locals.
Okay.
But yeah, I believe it's the Swinomish Links now.
So it's just, they're on your left-hand side when you're heading into Anacortes, near the Blue Cow Car Wash. And I would have to say it's probably Bastion Brewery itself. I think the best brewery in Anacortes.
It's really good. It's in a building that, again, for us
History.
locals, we remember it. I remember it originally as the 19th hole because it's right there by the golf course. And I'd go out there with my dad when I was a kid and get breakfast.
Yep. And my dad would always go there after the refineries. Like
Yeah.
a big shutdown. They would always have breakfast there. The 19th hole was what it was.
And that's, I think a lot of people in town still call it the 19th hole no matter what business is in there.
And that's a great name.
Oh, yeah.
Right across the street from the golf course.
I bet there's about 1,500 restaurants in the nation that are called the 19th hole, and they're located at a golf course.
And they probably
Perfect.
all serve a great Bloody Mary and a great breakfast.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think the Bastion has, over the last, 7 years, has really stepped up their game. Like, their food is good.
Their food is good. Their beer is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember before it was La Barca, which I think means the barge in Spanish, Mexican restaurant. It was good as well. Didn't have anything there for a while, but yeah.
We taught their
Bastion's
kids.
awesome. Yeah.
We did. Yeah, we had their kids in class. We had, before La Barca, at one point in time, it was the Sports Keg. I don't know if you guys remember that or not. That was probably while you were in Oregon.
Okay.
And they would have live music in there on weekends. What else has it been? It was one other thing briefly, somewhere in between La Barca and Bastion, I believe.
I think Bastion is here to stay.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think the cool thing about them is I've seen them really grow as far as when they first got here. I would say their food wasn't good, and I wouldn't have advertised that, like written a review necessarily, but and maybe it wouldn't have been a 0, but it wasn't great. And now their food is really good. They brought a guy in there to help them do their smoked meats and things like that and their barbecue, and that really made them big time. But throughout all of that, their beer, I think, really has been great, which leads us to our Sky Pig IPA, which I think they would say is their flagship IPA.
I just had a couple Sky Pigs the other day.
It's one of those ones where, every brewery has an IPA that they always make, always have on tap. And then, like with this one, you can see they're starting to actually put it in cans. They've even got labels for it. So I don't know if they're shipping this out anywhere. I don't know if you guys have seen this in the wild. Have you?
No, but when you went out there, there's a big fridge full of them.
Yeah, that's new.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can, I think, buy singles. I think it was like $6.50 for one of them, or you can buy a 6-pack. I don't know if it's any cheaper, but it's a really solid IPA. Whenever they get their New England's on tap there, which would be like a hazy, I think that they're definitely the best in the valley.
Yeah.
No doubt.
They, during COVID, they stayed open, and you could go in there and get a growler filled up, and you had to follow all the distancing rules and whatnot. But just to kind of get out, I would go out and get a growler full of Sky Pig, and then they also have a lot of good ciders on tap. The lemon basil.
That's Spokane.
Yeah, One Tree out of
Yeah.
Spokane, and that's a good cider. And I don't judge anyone for drinking a nice cider every now and then.
Now, I think there was a time in your life where you weren't drinking any beer, and ciders were a big part of your life, weren't they?
They were, and I go through phases, like phases of the moon. That was my cider phase.
Some people call it phases. If you're Kristen Chambers, you'd call it seasons.
She does. She uses the word seasons.
Really?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Seasons of our life. Huh. Speaking of which, I literally just got a text message from her as I said that. That's wild.
Hi, Kristen.
And, she's a longtime listener of the podcast. She's one of those ones that would really like the podcast to be under an hour long because she can't run for more than an hour. She'd prefer it like 45 minutes.
Well, then I'm going to tell her tomorrow she needs to start walking for 15 minutes.
Oh, I was going
and
to say
then
try
running.
If I based my podcasts on running, I would not listen to very many podcasts.
And Rick's a big fan, and I really like Rick because he's a Beaver.
I do
State.
too. And Beaver fans are,
They're realistic. They've gone through losing so much in their life that they appreciate it when there's a good win.
I think a Beaver fan is like in the movie Office Space, where the guy says, "I'm a phenomenal slouch."
Hey, we never described the Sky Pig IPA. Jason, do you want to do that?
Sure. So, lovely but light West Coast style IPA. Pineapple, fruit, citrus, likely a little bitter.
I think I said lightly.
Oh,
not
lightly
likely.
bitter.
Yeah.
Sorry, typo.
No, you're good. 7.2% and 3.74 on Untapped with 849 reviews. What do we think?
It's our go-to when we go there.
It's like putting on a nice pair of slippers.
Ooh, it's exactly what you expect, and they wrap you in a warm embrace.
Absolutely.
I actually have a little bit of a surprise for us too. They not only have the Sky Pig IPA, they have a double IPA.
Ooh.
And sticking with the theme, it's actually called Space Pig.
Whoa.
So,
And that is not to be handled by anyone inexperienced.
no, I believe it's 9.8%.
Ooh. So that's one of those
So
that
you
they
get those little mini glasses?
they serve it in like a little goblet.
Yeah. I think they call it a schooner. I don't know if you can hear that on the podcast.
Oh, look at that.
Man. I think we should let that breathe a little bit before we taste it. While I'm letting this breathe, what's your favorite thing on the menu out there, Mr. Ruckdashel? And I think you're going to say the same thing that I am.
Golly. I don't know that I've really ever had their barbecue. I think they make some really great wings. I think they do like a little smoking to their wings, smoked wings, and then they must finish them fried or in the oven or something.
So you have not had their brisket dip.
Brisket dip. Oh.
You know what? I actually think I have had, and it is really good.
So the
The dip sauce is what really makes it.
dip sauce is not that thin little au jus that we
Get at Ghirardelli.
get at Ghirardelli, which is good.
Yes.
Their dip is like a
Thicker.
thicker.
It's like
It's like a thin barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
it's like they took barbecue sauce and watered it down with au jus.
Yes.
And they've their mac and cheese is not bad.
So and you can get
You add brisket with it.
and you can add jalapenos and
So I
bacon.
take the jalapenos out just because I'll sweat a lot.
Oh my gosh. I don't know that I've really ever had a bad.
Oh my gosh, what? No, I'm just joking.
I don't think I've really had any bad meals there. I think everything's pretty solid. I'm kind of a burger snob, connoisseur, whatever you want to call it. So, can I enjoy their burger? Yes. It's not my style of burger. It's a pub burger, so it's thicker, has a lot of stuff on it. Some people, that's their jam, and that's fine. Happy for you. I prefer a smash burger where you get the patties are nice and thin.
Yeah.
Theirs is pretty thick. Sometimes it's a little dry, but I'm not.
They have
trying
a
to-
very good pretzel as an appetizer.
They do, and they'll give you a nice cheese sauce.
And then they add a little hot mustard. And I must say, I'm a big tartar fan. They have really good tartar sauce there.
They have really good ranch, but it's not like you get from Village. Village is like fake, super MSG salty, which is amazing, and that's for some things you want that. This is a more gourmet, sort of a dilly kind of ranch.
A lot of dill. And
Yeah, a lot
I
of
think
dill.
an underrated way to experience the Bastion is to ride your bike there.
Oh, we did that one time.
One of my
We did.
favorites. Yeah.
Tommy Thompson,
Got to work for it.
Go across the trestle.
which is out of order right now.
I think it's back.
Oh, is it back?
I heard it was supposed to be back.
Oh, they.
I haven't tested it. It's not quite trestle weather yet.
I don't know. I think the Bastion, if they heard how much we're singing their praises, they probably...
We could maybe get them to be a sponsor.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Would love that.
They have a good trivia night as well.
On Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Actually, if anyone was wondering, their Wi-Fi password is Trivia Wednesdays, all lowercase.
So we went there, came back from a game, possibly up north, and it was sat in there, and supposedly there was a substitute teacher that we saw there,
Oh yeah, Mr. B.
and
the original
he,
Mr. B.
yeah, and he came to school. He's like, "I'll see you tomorrow," and then found out that there were older couples cheating,
At trivia?
even though they didn't win. They were like, "Sir, you can't take out your phone." He's like, "Oh, it don't matter. I ain't gonna win." They were cheating and got called out.
You know, Mr. Ruckdashel and I were part of a winning team at Union Trivia one night.
This is true.
What was the name of your team name?
We cannot say it on the
Yeah.
podcast.
No, that's
Yeah,
right.
I'd say it on the podcast.
I forgot.
But you know, I think everybody has their own categories that they really excel at. I know what mine is. I mean, I've probably got a couple, but do you guys have an idea what category you might be in your wheelhouse? Because mine came up that night.
I'm a music guy,
Okay.
like rock, classic rock, like listening to a band or a song in like 1 to 2 seconds.
Yeah, you're good at that.
I could probably come up with a lot of the names of them,
Like when
like 2 notes.
like when we did the Spotify one.
Yeah, but
There were so many genres that we didn't know that it eventually was like, nah.
yeah. But I will say, I thought I was good. Sign Dog is at a different level.
He's
Dog's a
he's
different level.
amazing at name that tune.
And he was there that night, probably a big reason we won.
Yeah. And then Joshua is a tour de force at trivia.
He kind of knows a little bit in every category, especially science, of course.
He's the guy where there's a category that none of us know it. And no matter what it is, if it's something that we don't all know, he knows it.
Yeah.
Like he put on a performance one night with sharks.
Oh, yeah. Was that on Zoom? Or
No,
was
that
in
was
person?
live.
Okay. So do you have a category?
You know, sports, books.
Novels, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to say books, but I don't think I'm very well read, so that's probably not it. Sports, I would say. When I was a kid at our beach house on Camino, still have them there. My brother and I would take the Trivial Pursuit Sports Edition and just take the cards out of it and just quiz each other for hours at a time. So that game was made in like the 80s. So I have trivia that goes beyond my normal range of when I've been alive. And then the one that's kind of a surprising one is came up that night was music, or what would be movie theme songs.
Yeah.
That one for me, I don't know. It's something in my brain. I hear it and I know it. Maybe I've seen too many movies. Obviously, they're not ones you
So,
guys have
could
seen.
you tell me the theme song for Animal House?
It's like an actual song, not like a orchestral song, right?
Is that a real question?
It was kind of a joke because Mr. Ruck just watched Animal House for the first time ever.
So the
couple
only
weeks ago.
song I remember in Animal House is the one the guy plays on the guitar,
Yeah.
where
Johnny
Belushi
B.
grabs
Good?
the guitar and smashes it.
Yes. No, I know. It was just a joke.
It's a really good joke. Appreciate that. I think we passed with flying colors. Joke's on you. Hey, speaking of... Yeah, there's no speaking of here. I think we're ready to move on to top 3 basketball movies, which I'm excited for because when I started to look at the different basketball movies, there were some that I forgot even existed. and I kind of want to go back and watch them now. So I actually have a 3A and a 3B. Who wants to go first?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I will. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to start with my 3A. So I'd say this is a little higher. Space Jam.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, how could you not? Space Jam, seminal moment from my childhood. You've got Bill Murray, Michael Jordan, obviously all the other famous basketball players. On its own, it's just a really good, funny movie. Then you add in just the coolness of MJ at the time. That was big. And the funny part is, I haven't even bothered to watch Space Jam 2. I don't really care. Space Jam 1 did it for me. I didn't need another one.
I haven't seen Space Jam 2 either.
LeBron.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd say I really have anything against LeBron, but he's not my MJ.
But it was the first, we're talking about the first time of animation or the first part of it, right? In the 90s.
Yeah.
So
It was that
it's not-
original animation that was like the Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
So wasn't there a deal where when they were making that movie in Hollywood or wherever they filmed it, they would have like pickup basketball games at night?
Yes.
Didn't that come out in The Last Dance?
Yes, it did.
And he had to have a court
Yeah.
where everyone could come so he could train.
And it ended up being like NBA All-Star games, full on going at it every night.
Yeah.
Now, the question I have, because I don't quite remember, was this taking place when he took his break from basketball? Because that kind of coincides in the movie.
So
He's taking a break.
1996 possibly,
Is when the movie came out?
or when he was making it.
Here, I'll give it a quick Google.
So what years
It's a
was he
96
out?
movie.
So it's 96. So 95, I think he left,
Okay.
right? Or 94
I think it was 94
when he went to baseball.
because I believe, and this might be revisionist history in my own mind, I believe I watched his comeback game, his first game back, and I believe it was in 95. His first game back after being on for baseball. I think I watched it at a Chili's in Boise, Idaho, across from the pavilion. And later that day, saw Tyus Edney make his lay-in against Missouri.
1995.
So in the year he came back halfway through the year and wore 45. And they
Yes.
didn't win, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And so then 96, which would be the 95-96 season, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Then do they play the Sonics that year in the finals? Or is that 97?
No, 96 was the year that they played us in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
And then 97 he played Utah
Right.
Jazz. So 95 he came back?
I think.
Well, so then
He didn't come back halfway through 96.
No. So if he wins the title in 94 and then he takes off the start of the 94 season and comes back halfway through the 95.
I think he.
94, 95.
I
Or did he
think there
take the
might be
whole
another
year?
year in there.
Oh, really? He takes the whole year off, 94, 95.
Maybe.
Because the team that won it in between was the Houston Rockets.
So they won in 94 and 95.
Yeah.
The Rockets did.
Yeah, Mario Ellie, Hakeem,
Did they have Big Shot Bob?
Kenny Smith, yes.
Oh, they had another guy. That I should
Sam Cassell.
Oh yeah.
Sam Cassell. He was my favorite player. I collected his cards as a kid.
I think he was summoned from above.
Sam Cassell?
I think Sam Cassell is the
He
greatest.
looks like
Yeah.
Sam Cassell was really good.
yes, he was.
He was one of my favorite players. Like these were the basketball cards I collected as a kid, which might sound sacrilegious as a Sonics fan, but I collected Scottie Pippen and Sam Cassell. Which what does that say about me? I collected all of the running mates, not the number one guys. I collected their partner.
Dude, I love Hakeem so much.
Oh, it was easy to like those Rockets teams, except when they were playing the Sonics.
So Michael Jordan returned to the NBA after his baseball retirement March 19th, 1995. So he finished out like a couple months, and then they made their run Or another 3-year run, 96, 97, 98.
So I bet he was making.
He had
the
two
movie while he
3-year
was-
runs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there was somebody in between the Sonics and the Jazz.
Correct.
They didn't play the Jazz 2 years in a row.
Maybe.
Suns?
Charles
With
Barkley?
The
and
Barkley
Thunder
Thunder
Dan?
Dan Suns. Kevin Johnson, mayor of
Yeah,
Sacramento.
that sounds familiar.
Rex Chapman.
Oh yeah.
Man, there were some good players back then.
Well, I've said my number 3A. My 3B, which I don't need to talk about very much. I just remember this movie fondly as a kid, Finding Forrester, which was with Sean Connery and the basketball player in the movie. Gosh, I want to say he was from The Wire, and then eventually, did he go on to be on that Amazon cop show with the detective?
Are we talking about Forrest?
No,
Bosch.
Bosch. Thank you. Good job. I want to say that's the guy who's the basketball player. Basically, I want to say it's this kid who, he's a really great basketball player, but his grades are not great, and it's in the inner city, and he happens to run into this. I don't know if it's a neighbor who's kind of cranky, and I want to say this guy ends up kind of helping him study for the tests and stuff, and helps him like, be eligible and make it. It was a cool movie.
Yeah, I remember that movie. That's a good movie. So my number 3 is White Men Can't Jump. Woody Harrelson, Wesley Snipes.
Love it.
And
Haven't seen it.
at the end, remember when they play the ringers at the end? They play that,
Oh, yes.
and it's Marcus Johnson,
Yeah.
who's the greatest Sonics announcer in history.
And still to this day, every time it's his birthday on YouTube, Twitter, everything, he goes up and dunks so that he can still dunk. He's 70.
And he can still dunk.
Yeah.
Wow, he's 70? Man.
Wow.
Close to it, yes. And he was a UCLA Bruin.
He was a legend.
Yeah.
Man, I hope that
That movie is that's another movie, Ruck, that you need to watch.
when I go home after this podcast and I do all the things I need to do to make it go on the internets, I'll see if I can find it online and watch it. That's not true. I'm going to watch the Kraken game, but I'll watch it at some point.
And Woody Harrelson, you're watching that movie and you're like, damn, Woody Harrelson can play a little bit.
Was that actually him, do you think?
Yeah, I think it was. Don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, what's...
But they make it look like they're so good, but it would be like us going to Storvik.
And the hoop being like 8.5 feet.
Like it's those rims. Like just the trash talking for that type of stuff that happened
Yeah.
in the 80s and early 90s. Like you lose your money.
Yeah. So that was the premise. It's like pool hustlers, but basketball.
Oh, got it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got it.
All right.
And so those two guys are hustlers together?
Well, first they're rivals, then they kind of join forces.
They kind of hustle each other
Yeah.
Gotcha.
and then they become partners.
Nice.
How about Rosie Perez?
Oh, love Rosie Perez. And she was with Woody in that movie, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Jay, what's your number 3?
So my number 3 is He Got Game.
Oh, yeah. God, give me some Jesus Shuttlesworth.
Yes.
Oh, is that Denzel?
Denzel and his son, he's in prison. And then his son is Ray Allen.
For real.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good call.
And they actually played one-on-one.
Because Denzel's pretty good, isn't he?
Yeah. And he did, but that was really good. Like showing the recruiting
yeah.
and what happens, like what really happens that the kids don't tell you. Like you don't see on TV, like when you go to a recruiting visit,
The stuff
we
that
all
happens.
know what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, it's another movie that I haven't seen.
No,
know-
it's a good, if you got a little time, that's worth your while.
Yeah.
Now, Denzel, I feel like I saw something recently where that's not really his real name. Isn't that right?
I mean, how many people in Hollywood have?
But his son also really good athlete, football player, played at one point for the Jets. John David Washington. He was a running
isn't
back.
he also his son
Famous
is also
actor
oh
now.
yeah
He was in Tenet. He was the main actor in
and
that
he
movie.
was I think he was in is it Ballers with
The Rock.
yes
Didn't
big
see it.
time
Yeah, wasn't that an HBO
yes
or something like
you've
that?
not seen that's another one that's fun. Yes, he is.
Okay, so
Number two
for me. Just saw this recently. Super good. Also features a real player from the NBA, Hustle. Hustle is an Adam Sandler movie. It's on Netflix. It's basically that he is a scout that has traveled all around for the Philadelphia 76ers. When the owner dies, he's had this sort of sweetheart deal under the table that like he was going to become one of the coaches, and that kind of out the window. The owner's son takes over and is a real jerk, and so he's got to go back out into the wild and be a scout for them again. And so he finds this guy out in like Serbia or somewhere who is playing pickup basketball in these like Doc Martens, just destroying everybody. And so it's the story of him trying to get him to come back to the NBA, and he sort of sees for himself that this is his way to become a coach, because that's kind of what he wants to be. And the NBA player is Anthony Edwards from the Timberwolves.
Oh, I had no idea.
yeah good movie.
Is it really?
Yes, yes
Oh, you've seen it.
yeah I saw it.
Huh. Good.
Worth a watch.
So my number 2, and I think some people might not see this as a basketball movie, Uncut Gems.
That's one I haven't seen.
Yeah.
I know Kevin Garnett's in it, though.
Kevin Garnett is amazing in it.
And wasn't Sandler going to win an Oscar possibly?
Adam Sandler, he has evolved from being like Saturday Night
Happy
Live,
Gilmore.
Yeah.
Happy Gilmore.
Bobby
He is
Boucher.
amazing in that movie.
Yeah.
He plays just this sleazy jeweler, and he gets embroiled in this big deal with some diamonds and Kevin Garnett, and he's always, he's trying to catch up on what he owes people, and then at the end it doesn't work out very well for him. And Kevin Garnett is unbelievable in that movie. Like, you would look at him and think that guy is an actor.
So where's the basketball come into play?
So the at the climax of the movie, it's all revolving around this big parlay that he has put on a basketball game that involves Kevin Garnett, who is also involved in this deal he has with a diamond. So
It's on the list. Yep.
for those that are not gambling aware, a parlay. Can you explain what a parlay is?
So usually it is 3 or more bets that you make, where if you put a certain amount of money down and all of the bets in your parlay hit, you win more money. So
But if any one of them doesn't happen, you lose it all?
correct.
Okay.
And the odds increase.
Yeah, and the Vegas guys are good. Like, it's hard to win a bet.
Yeah.
So it's harder to
Having
win 3 or 6 or 8.
So like when some guys say, I just want a 5-game parlay,
You might have put $20 down and win.
it's probably 30-1 now.
Yeah. Put 20 down and win 400.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And of course, when you're going in there to make the bet, you're looking at it and you think, well, I can't lose. These are easy.
And the guy's taking your money. You're like, okay, $20 parlay. He's like, jump.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, my number 2, white men can't jump.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, was that 1992, 93?
Well, let me do a little research here while you
It
talk.
was so. I mean, that was a movie that lives with us through our late teens, early 20s.
92.
So I was a junior in high school, and Wesley Snipes in the early 90s was on fire.
Yeah.
All the movies he did
Blade.
before Blade.
Willie Mays Hayes.
Oh, yeah, Major League. And remember Passenger 57?
Yeah.
Like, he was on fire. And Blade came out after that.
And is that the one where he was a vampire?
Vampire Hunter.
And there's Blade 1, Blade 2, and 3, right?
True. Yeah.
I like a good Blade.
Yeah.
So, yeah, White Men Can't Jump. You talked about it already. Just all of it transcending just pop culture at the time, too. They're redoing it.
I just looked here
What?
as I looked up the
Yes.
year.
So
Yeah, it's coming out.
if they do that, you know who's the perfect person to play Woody Allen? I hope they did. Channing Tatum should be Woody Allen.
You mean Woody Harrelson?
Who did I say? Woody Allen? Yeah, Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, Woody
yeah,
Allen's a 90-year-old Jewish man.
Yeah, Woody Harrelson. Should be Channing Tatum. Do you know who's playing him?
I think they're playing him like they're doing it. Or not.
Well, that's what I'm saying is if they're doing it, they must already have chosen.
Jack Harlow?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Who is that?
isn't he a musician? Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting.
American rapper?
Yeah.
Yes. Jack Harlow.
I'll be damned.
You'll recognize one of his songs. Well, there's a movie that none of us have said, and therefore I assume it must all be our number one. So I'm going to say it, and when you agree that it's also your number one,
I'm sure it is.
we can just talk about it. Hoosiers.
The greatest movie in the history of American film.
Yes.
There's no movie that captures the spirit of sport and the ups and downs, the trials and tribulations, the reason why you bother going through all of the pain associated with playing or coaching, just so that you can get the win, like Hoosiers does.
Totally agree. And everything that happens in it is something that every high school coach can relate to.
Even getting the random kid who's the ringer, like the kid who doesn't play and you're trying to get him out, like 100%. That happens all the time to where there's a kid who's not doing your sport. They might not be doing any sport, and you get him out and you're like, man, if I'd had this kid for the last 3 years.
It's amazing. And just the small town atmosphere.
Yeah.
Like, that's how it was. Like, they shut the town down, and it shows the photo of them driving out of town. The bus is first, and there's 30 cars.
I really want to watch that right now.
And just going to wherever they go.
Yeah.
And just one classification.
And the venue in that, like to where it's a, what's the word for
it's
it? A something box, but
it's
it how they're stacked on each other. You know, they've got the pamphlets, the programs. That's why Mount Vernon's gym.
See, that's
is
why
one of the
Mount
best
Vernon.
ones,
I know,
because
because
it's
it-
actually like it used to be.
yes. It
Yeah.
reminds me of 1950s, 60s. It is.
Cracker
That's our
Box.
version of Hoosier.
Cracker Box. That's what it's called.
Yeah. Cracker Box Gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the old wood.
And then Gene Hackman and Dennis Hopper. I mean, Shooter,
And is it her last name Hershey?
Barbara Hershey.
He will not play for you. And then he walks in there, and when he's about ready to be fired, if coach goes, I go. If coach stays, I stay. We need a new vote.
Oh, my God.
Who says
Remember?
that? Jimmy Chitwood.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chitwood comes in.
Do you remember the scene where Jimmy Chitwood is out there just shooting?
And
Shooting
the ball's
outside.
dead.
The ball's dead. It's a flat ball. And he's
Against
just
a barn. And did he hit rim?
no, he's draining 15-footers.
And there's no net on it either, right? Maybe a chain net.
maybe a chain net. In the old school building they were in.
He never hit rim. Maybe one time.
Oh my gosh. And they call the play and Jimmy doesn't like it and
Yeah.
he just says, I'll make it.
I know. Boy, he's a decoy. I'll make it. Oh, I'm going to cry right now.
And, you know,
Hey, so
I'm sure that they don't actually have them making or shooting those shots. Like, I'm sure it's edited so that they make it. But how about his release? It's just like right overhead, just like right here.
It's a
elbow
1950s
down.
release.
They
Oh
got
my
the
gosh.
perfect
Yes,
guy for that.
Yes, exactly.
it's not here, it's here.
They got the perfect guy for it. I don't even know if he's ever been in another
Well,
movie.
how about Ollie? We have a story about Ollie
with the underhand.
Campbell,
Yeah.
the high school are from Anacortes. We called him Ollie, and he played baseball for Swap, and he was he just played basketball just so he would get in shape for baseball. And we were good enough that he got in like 8 games.
Was
So we
he
called him Ollie.
was he your human victory cigar?
He kind of was, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Oh, that movie. So we, just real quick, we were watching that movie at state basketball for Swap and I coaching.
Is this why you said earlier what
Yes.
you said? Oh my gosh. Go
And
ahead.
we're playing Hoosiers. Remember, we had like a 4-hour break, and we in the hotel, and like they start winning, and I start crying, and I'm like trying to hide it, and then all the girls find out that I'm crying, and they're like, "Coach Morgie cried during Hoosiers." So one girl, Maddie Holmes, in the senior, like she's like, my favorite memory is when seeing Coach Morgie cry doing Hoosiers.
Wow.
It was in the program.
You know, this reminds me. It's not a basketball movie, but have you ever seen the low budget movie about Prefontaine? It might be just called Pre.
Yeah.
It features a lot of local media personalities. Filmed at the University of Washington dormitories, but like the guys like Bob and Graz, like I forget, is it Eric Johnson? Like a bunch of those guys are in it, like as the media in it.
For Pre.
Yeah. And then the guy who plays Pre is Jared Leto.
Yeah, I know. I remember that movie.
It's
And then it shows like how he crashed.
it's corny,
Yeah.
but also like done really well. Like the running parts, like
So there's
one
a new
almost brings
movie
tears
coming
to my
out.
eyes.
Well, Air is supposed to be really good.
Air.
That's the one with Matt Damon.
Correct. So the history of Phil Knight.
Oh, right.
It just came out last week.
So the guy, real quick, the guy that played Jimmy Chitwood, got the role after an open casting call. He had never played high school basketball. There were hundreds of people at the open call, and he decided to leave, but the casting director saw him and asked him to come in and audition.
Wow.
Said the scene where he's talking with Norman Dale, shooting baskets outside, was filmed in one take.
No way.
He said he wasn't even, and the guy that played him says he wasn't even listening to Gene Hackman. He was just concentrating on making shots. He made one, and they kept going in.
Wow.
I'm going to cry right now.
Oh.
That's amazing.
Goosebumps.
You got the chilies.
But Air is supposed to be good. And so Jordan had one thing to say about the movie.
okay.
Because he's not in.
Because it's kind of about making his shoe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's about them. At the time, it was Converse,
Adidas?
maybe.
I was gonna say
And Nike's like, and they're like, you want me to take this guy and be the face, and they called it Air Jordan, and just showing like going to meet his family. I think it was Sonny Vaccaro, and I think Jordan just said one thing where I don't know exactly what it was, but he's like, I love all of it. Just make this one thing different. Because he's not in the movie.
Wow.
Is there someone playing his part?
Well, I
there?
don't think they show him really. They just show
Okay.
the highlights of like real highlights.
Gotcha.
But Ben Affleck, they say, does a great job as being Phil Knight.
I didn't realize that's who played Phil Knight.
But we're talking 1984.
Yeah, so
So he's got like the Pit Vipers.
So, yeah, that's around that same sort of like Bowerman time, right?
Yeah.
Where-
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So Bowerman Drive is where that in Beaverton.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I think we've made it to the end. You know, I'm disappointed we didn't get to the time that we were hoping for, under an hour, but you know, just more free listening for all of you listeners out there. Next week we'll come back better than ever, and can't tell you what our top 3 is. Jay, you're signaling to me. What do you have to say?
I think next episode we might have a guest
Oh,
Special guest.
We have a guest.
join us.
Really? This is
Yeah.
news to me. Are we revealing this right now?
No.
Okay. Then I think that's what we call a tease in the business. Stick around next time. Find out who our
And
special
also
guest
maybe
is.
the date of the secret podcast.
Oh, and find out the date of the secret podcast. Okay. Many things to be revealed next week. Stick around and find out who our special guest is and when the secret podcast will be. Until next time, find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, anywhere you find your podcasts.